Hey guys, welcome to Jet Live. I'm here with Roy Dolinar, who's got Tzedakah right over there and a lot of kitchen appliances.
Yeah,
um,
this is not backstage.
Actually, the backstage is where you were a second ago, and now you're on stage. So they call it the green room apparently, or the backstage. I apparently.
Yeah.
So how's it going? What's going on? How have you been through this time?
Well, I was overseas just until I was very lucky, about 3 weeks before the virus broke out into the world. I did a major lecture tour and three different countries and got back just in time, thank God. And since then, I've been busier in Corona time than ever. I decided not to waste the time, so I gave myself a lot of different goals.
That's amazing. How's that been for you? Are the goals long term, short term?
Well, I'm on the last few pages now of a new screenplay, and
Okay.
I'm in the middle of my first novel, and I'm renovating my synagogue, and also working on my house. Um,
Wow.
Other than that, no.
Wow.
Oh, and I also uh, taught a Masechet of Talmud. We had a siyum with first-time Talmud students, and also I did chavruta to get another Masechet under my belt. And we had my
Mazal
first
tov.
my first zooming siyum. I think we were going to call it a zium.
I lost you sound wise. How did that happen?
I didn't touch anything.
Oh,
I'm
there
not.
you go. Okay. I hear you. Or not. I'm just going to do that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay, so I can hear you. Great. Okay, cool. So you did a sium. You're renovating the house, renovating your synagogue, and you screenplay and a novel. Wow. Which one's your favorite?
All of them. It's all apples and oranges and
Yeah.
pomegranates and etrogim. It's a big mix. It's a big tzimus.
And each day you're working on each one a little bit at a time. When was the
No,
sium?
the good thing about doing several projects at once for me is if I'm not inspired to do one of them on a certain day, I got other things to be doing. So I've been juggling them. It's like spinning plates.
That's good. I've
So
been
you've been doing a
juggling.
lot of other.
I've been juggling too. And sometimes like I'm not sure where the if it's falling on the ground or not. You know what I mean? But I'm just gonna bring this up here. This is nicer. There we go. All right. Cool. So how's that? How's that? How are you renovating the synagogue? That was interesting to me. You're fixing it up with your own bare hands.
That, but also, paying for the paint, paying for the plaster,
Okay.
things like that.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's my tzedakah these days.
Were you in the? Is it because they're able to do that now because people aren't in the synagogue, or
Yeah, the
if it was some?
synagogue is pretty well known. It's Kolrina.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a Carlebach Lot. It's great for JET because it's all singing, all dancing. So I used to tell people, I said, it looks horrible. It's a bunker from the Cold War underground, which is why it's not open. And I figured while it was closed to take advantage of the closure under Corona and redo the whole place. So I got a lot of help from people. People are chipping in either time or energy or muscle or money, and we're doing it.
And it's only about 100 meters from your house. So, I mean, I don't know if that means anything anymore, but
Yeah, it's very close to my house. So
wow, that's really special to be doing a project like that. And uh, but the novel is also something like, did you only start it now, or you've been working on it or you've been thinking about it for a while and
no, I
now?
was thinking about it for a long time. My father said, "Well, with Corona, I'm shut in the house. Might as well roll up my sleeves and get started." So there's that, and just keeping busy. I look at people's postings on social media from other countries, and they're saying, "Well, we're just killing time. We're getting drunk, or we're eating too much, or
Really?
binging on TV." And at the end of the whole, bitud, the quarantine, what do you have? What do you have to show? So I was determined not to fall into that trap.
Right, right. But you've been writing. How many years have you been writing for?
Oh, all my life. Well, so far.
When was the first? What was the first story you wrote?
Wow. I'd say in my teens.
So you didn't start writing when you were in kindergarten.
No, no. I wasn't
No,
staging.
some people get on here and they're like, "Yeah, I was dancing and singing when I was in kindergarten and putting all the
Yeah,
show." So,
yeah. God bless them that they get the bug early. That's great.
so the teens. So do you remember what the story was about? That first.
No, no. I just remember I was writing back then.
Yeah, I'm sure it was about a bunny and a tortoise, and that one's taken already. Never, that was. Wow! So since your teens, and you've written some really really amazing works and award winning as well. Um, and I think you're the first. We didn't really mention this in the bio, but like in the Vatican, like you had a really important post over there for a
Well,
while,
actually, I still have it. I still have
and you still have it. Huh?
my badge. I'm the first religious Jew in the history of the Vatican to actually be authorized to be one of their VIP guides.
And
So I have to be very precise that I work in the Vatican, but I don't work for the Vatican. To
mm-hmm.
work for the Vatican, you have to be a religious Catholic.
Okay, okay, good to know. How's that been affected with this whole entire time period? Do you go every year to do tours, or it's just you just have
Uh,
the badge?
well, I have the badge, and I thought, well, we'll see if anything happens. It's also good for me because I have unlimited entrance to the Vatican to do research and things like that. But yeah, 2 or 3 times a year, uh, people who really want me to be their guide and not somebody I trained, they will pay to fly me in and put me up and all of that, and get me kosher meals, and I take them around. So I've had people from Hollywood and from the White House and you name it. Had a lot of people that requested me, and still happens. I was just there both in December. I was flown in, and also in January I was flown in. So
So right before all this,
yeah.
and what I'm just gonna do this really cool thing because some people are watching here that you might know. So I'm just gonna put this up here so you could see who's been watching or saying hi. This is Rafael Donate
Raffaele.
Globetrotter.
Ciao Raffaele, come stai tu?
We got Tamar Latz over here,
Hi Tamar.
and
I
then
hope I'll be doing your show also soon.
are you're going to be in it or you're writing it?
Oh, and I have hello from a high school classmate, Terry
Oh
Binder.
wow!
So yeah,
Wow.
we were in
So,
high school. What I think about 20 years ago.
wow. She knows. Um, Maybe she knows what the first story you wrote. So what's the novel about? What are you writing about?
I have a strict rule, which is until something is finished and produced or published, I don't talk about it. I'll just say that it's my very first novel. It's no surprise that it's a historical novel, and hopefully within a year or so, we'll be talking about it in another interview and maybe doing some book signings.
So I'll put you to that. In a year from now, we'll do a Jet Live
We'll pencil it in.
announcing the novel. Tamar says hi back, and Terry responded as well. So okay, so I guess we can't talk about anything that's like in your back burner right now. So.
No, well, yes and no. There's stuff that I've been very blessed as a playwright. Many of my plays have been produced, and what's in the pipeline is I want to remount Divine Right. I had a wonderful cast, including a certain person named CB.
We were brothers.
Yeah, you and I were brothers. We was
Yeah.
brothers. Yeah.
Brothers.
So it was great
You
fun.
beat me up good.
Yeah.
Or was that?
No. That was one of the priests beat you up.
you just watched, so
I came in and chased him off and yelled at you.
All right. Yeah. Well, someone
anyway,
slapped me in that.
I want, as you know, CB, we turned away hundreds of people who wanted to get in to see that show. And so I want to remount it. And this time, I would love to have it with Hebrew subtitles to bring in the non-English language speaking audience, which is the majority here, strangely enough. So I'd love to get it out to a Hebrew speaking audience as well. So hopefully the next time it'll be super titled or subtitled.
And is that being worked on now? You have the translation already, or because
no.
I know some people actually were on Jet Live that have translated. I don't know if it's something that they do technically, but professionally, but they translated some of the musicals at least.
That would be fantastic.
A few of them.
We'll talk.
We'll talk later. But that's awesome. I think that's something that really happens a lot and resonates. That like once a play is successful and whatnot here, then it's like the next step is to translate it into Hebrew, or to do subtitles in Hebrew. All the television shows do it, so why not?
Exactly. Listen, I wouldn't complain if my stuff ended up on Netflix. So anyway, I've got a two-man comedy called Last Words, which is based on Midrashim from Devarim, Deuteronomy, which is about the death of Moses. And according to this Midrash, when I first heard it, I was in hysterics. He's not thrilled about the idea. You know, the tradition is that Moses wrote down the entire Torah, including the part about writing about his own death.
Right.
And these Midrashim say, well, wait a minute. He's known for having a very bad temper. So we have Moses with a bad temper having to write down in dictation while Hashem is telling him about his own death. So these Midrashim have him, in Yiddish, we call it handling, which means negotiating, bargaining. Okay. And he's coming up with all these crazy ideas, trying to save himself and trying to get himself into the promised land.
He does that. He does it a lot in the Bible.
Yeah, but even more in the Midrashim. And they're hysterically funny. And it became a play, and I didn't think anybody else would be interested. Same thing happened with Divine Right. I thought, okay, this is something that I just had to get off my chest. And it turns out that it was a big, big audience for it. It's done in New York and was a big hit in southern Florida and big hit in Rome. We actually did it in English in Rome, and now I'd like to do it here at home in Israel. So
and it's just two actors.
Just two actors and one mute angel.
One mute angel.
Yeah.
And not like Angels in America.
No.
That he's not mute.
No.
So that's actually an interesting question. So you're a writer, and you have your plays produced. Have you ever had to produce your own writing? Have you had to like jump into both, do all the different things to get your work out there, or you just write it because you want to get it off your chest, and then somebody says, "Oh, here, this is good. I like this. Let's take it out there."
I'm what's called a classic right brainer. If the right hemisphere of your brain, which in the Kabbalah, this represents chokhmah, divine wisdom, but also inspiration. I'm a lefty, which means my right side of my brain is dominant. And what does that mean? It means languages, no problem. History, culture, art, theater, film, no problem. Multiplying two numbers or trying to get into this website tonight, anything scientific, technological, financial, mathematical, zero, nothing. It doesn't function. It doesn't compute. You explain it to me 101 times, and I won't get it. I will guarantee you by this time tomorrow, I won't remember how I got myself onto Google Chrome.
But you're renovating a shul and your house.
Yeah, that's creative.
You're the creative side of it.
Yeah, so I have never, and God willing, will never produce my own work or anybody else's. And there's people who have adult thinking patterns that can deal with money and lists and financial and numbers, all of that. But people ask me, when I'm in different theaters, they say, "Would you produce this?" I say, "Not unless you want this place to become a parking lot." It's just not going to happen. So if there's anybody who wants to produce successful plays out there, get in touch with me. I need a producer.
Okay. Well, there are creative producers out there that I think are more right brain than left brain. But I
have a certain balance, But for me, it's 100% and zero.
All right. Well, Eddie Zengeni, I think if I pronounced that correctly, is saying greetings from Cambridge. Or Ed.
Eddie is my brother from another mother, and he was Moses in Italy.
In this production that you're talking about.
Yeah, he was
fantastic. That's fantastic.
I'd like him in to do the role again here in Israel.
Then you're gonna have to find a producer that's ready to produce. That's just, I love it. That I only met you with Divine Right about 2. I think I went to the performance in Gush Etzion, and I wasn't even in the show yet, and I was like, "Who are you?" And then we just had a conversation about who you are, and you kind of stood on the side, like you didn't really want to have anything to do with anything that was going on the stage, because obviously, Yael was producing, and we talked a little bit, and all of a sudden I was in your play like the next month or 2 or whatever it was. Yeah. But and we've created a relationship, and it's been really great. I've been in your house to rehearse lines because God knows I need to rehearse lines a lot to get them. But it's just amazing to me that you're so global, and that we're able to now bring like Jet Live. We're having like people from different countries that have worked with you, saying hi on Facebook. I love the technology is great. It's wonderful. It's so cool. I know it's really hard to get into it, but it's.
I'm glad you enjoy it. I enjoy the fruits of it, but dealing with it's a generational thing, I think.
Yeah, I'm talking about the fruits of it.
And let him set it up for me.
I'm talking about the fruits of it. I'm definitely talking about the fruits of it. I think it's just so great to see Terry and Tamar and Eddie, all and Raphael, like all here on Facebook saying hello. Um, so then the screenplay, you said you finished it, or you're on the last pages. So are you able to talk, or does it have to be produced first before you can talk about it, or it has to be written and
Yeah. So good news is I have a couple of producers waiting to see it when it's done. So that's a good incentive.
Right. Okay. So, but we can't talk about it because it's not exactly done yet.
We can talk about.
Are you afraid? Are you afraid of someone saying something and you're like, oh shoot, I have to go back and write something else and changing the script, so you want it to be like, carbon. You want it to be totally finished in what you think is the way it should be finished, so it doesn't get touched, or what's that process for you?
It even says in the Talmud that you don't talk about things that are only half done. Right. It's like pulling a cake out of the oven too early, and that's why things that are not thought through well are called half baked for that reason. The thing is, it's a good
ice cream though.
There you go. See, there's a positive side of all this. What was I going to say? I spent a few years in Hollywood. I did some TV work there, and that's what got me started writing screenplays. Not up until I was working in Hollywood, I was only doing theater stuff. And you could lose your entire life listening to people telling you about their projects in the pipeline. And okay, well, can I read the script? Oh, no, it's not finished yet. Oh, how many pages do you have? Well, I got the title. And that's most of my experience in LA. And I said, I'm not going to be one of these people that is just bending everybody's ear about things he hasn't even done or finished yet.
Right.
So that's my personal discipline, I guess, or personal.
I'm kind of the opposite. I'll have so many projects and I'm like, oh, I'm doing this and doing that, and then like it doesn't really. I did. The truth is, well, I'll ask you this. I wrote a play, a short, like 10-minute play, and I shared it with somebody now, and they say I should turn it into a longer piece. But is it a finished product when it's 10 minutes? It wasn't never produced, but I felt like I worked on it enough that it's something, and I did try to get it to people. But you have to market to somebody. I mean, you have to tell somebody something. But at what point is the writing finished? At what point, as a writer, at what point at Divine Right, even we went through a couple of iterations, I guess you could say, with certain things. At what point are you actually done? Or is that the eye of the beholder?
I think it was Jose Quintero quoting an artist that he said he was talking about plays. I forget which artist it was, but what they said was. Let me see if I can remember it. Probably. Oh yeah, he says a play or a painting is never finished. It's abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is you rewrite and fix this and tweak this, and finally you're at the point of saying, that's it, must speak, this is enough. Or in Italian we say basta. So so you get to the point and say, okay, this is what it is. The piece will tell you. I've taught creative writing over the years several times. And the thing is that people say, well, is this going to be a TV show or a film? Nowadays, we ask, is it going to be a miniseries? Is it going to be a short story or a novel or a one act? Or a short film? What's it going to be? And you don't impose your desires on the writing. The writing will tell you. Content dictates form. That's the rule, and it's a rule for a good reason. So if you're writing something and you say, well, I want this to be a film, but really it's two people sitting in chairs and having an amazingly interesting conversation. Well, then you've either got a radio play or a stage piece, but you don't have a film.
Mm-hmm.
You've written a 10-minute long piece, let's say. Does it convey everything you wanted to say? When you see this happen for the 10 minutes it lasts, are you content? Have you delivered your message? Have you explored the characters as much as you want to? Well, then it's done. If you look and say, wow, I really also wanted to tackle this thing, or I really need to expand on this, or I really need to explain this, or I need the backstory on these two characters who are having the conversation. All of a sudden, it wants to expand so much that it's going to be something more than just a 10-minute theater piece. So if it's action and you've got car chases or explosions, or it's hopping all around the planet like Mission Impossible, well, then you got to film. You can't do that usually on stage. If it's more about dialogue and you don't have characters popping in and out, well, then it might be a theater piece.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just you can't turn it into something it doesn't want to be.
But you could abandon it, and then it just sits on the side, and then that's also. I feel that's what happened. I tried to get it produced, and then I just abandoned it. And now I'm looking at it again, and I'm like, oh, maybe there is something to explore more. But
well, you brought up something very good. What's the name of the theater in Tel Aviv that has a one-act festival? I think
the stage.
The stage. That's it. The stage. So what maybe we should do here is I've got 2 or 3 one-acts. You've got a one-act. I'm sure there's many talented people out there with one-acts. And maybe we should do a JET one-act festival because it's very hard, if not impossible. You don't have producers sitting around going, gee, where's the next best one act coming?
Right.
If they have a festival, that's one thing. But most people want a full length. That's what sells commercially. The standard is a 2-act play lasting about an hour and a half to a little under 2 hours.
I don't know if that's going to be the standard soon with all the short attention spans. It's going to maybe be an hour.
Yeah, exactly that. So, look at what's happened with movies. Movies are the classic example of an art form getting completely dumbed down. People now want to do the next comic book superhero. That's all they're thinking of because they're making billions. It was Rob Reiner. He's not my favorite theater director, but he's much better in film. He did say something. I just lost what we were talking about.
About theater and film and short one-acts. And
he said the problem with producers today is they don't want to make money. They want to make money. And I saw that, I laughed, but he also hit it on the head. They're not content with making 100% profit. They want to make 1,000% profit.
It depends on the producer. I think there is commercial theater, and then there's theater.
Well, theater's a different category. I was talking about film and TV.
Oh, yeah. Well, once they make money, or I don't even know if I'm doing it as good as you, but once they do that, then they're free to do a bigger project, and maybe that's one of the reasons that's driving them, because you need Money makes the films go around.
There's that. In theater, since we're here mostly talking about theater, theater, what happened in New York City was everybody was squeezing the golden goose. One of the worst bad guys for theater in New York City is the New York Times. New York Times, in my opinion, has just become an agenda-driven anti-Israel rag. But when it used to be the New York Times, they knew that every theater piece depended on the review in the New York Times, but also advertising. So the advertising, to advertise a play in the New York Times, was prohibitively expensive. You had to be a corporation or a conglomerate or a consortium of investors just to afford to advertise your play in the New York Times. Forget about all the other costs. The unions got very greedy. And I remember, I'm going to date myself now, when you went to a Broadway show every week. You lived in New York, you were a starving actor, you could still afford to go see a show. And now with Hamilton, you have to take out a second mortgage if you want to go see theater for an evening in New York City.
Depends.
I remember, this is before your time, CB, it was holiday time, and I was a starving actor, and I wanted to get presents for Hanukkah for all my Jewish friends, for Christmas for all my Christian friends, and I couldn't afford a lot of presents. So you know what I did? I bought out all the standing room for a Broadway play. It was Sandy Duncan doing Peter Pan. Phenomenally successful production, huge success. And it cost me, are you ready? $5 per person to get all my friends to see a Broadway show. Now we're talking $600 a person. $600 to go in to see a Broadway musical. So what does that mean? The people who are going to be the next generation of creators, of dreamers, they can't afford to go see what's happening in their craft.
Right. I mean, you're right. You're right. There is some of that happening, but there's also Hamilton opening up, sometimes having, I believe, having school kids from school being able to come see it. Then you have standing room tickets, you have TKTS, you have ways to see shows. But how many friends was that? Like $5 for how many?
How about 30?
30 friends. So you could get. There are group tickets. I don't know if you could do it for Hamilton, but there are, and there's ton. You know what's also happening because of what's happening on Broadway. Off Broadway is and off Broadway, and all the rest of the theater around New York is becoming a thing where people are seeing art and seeing creativity happening in those spaces. So they're not seeing the big. But now with COVID, it's a very big question about how do they open up again? Will they be able to have those big, huge marquee and big, huge sets and whatnot, or will they have to be doing it very simple? Will we go back to those kinds of shows?
Well, they're going to have to. I read the new proposed guidelines, and we're talking
for New York or for Israel?
For New York, or okay. for any theater anywhere.
Okay.
Maximum 30% capacity.
Yeah, and I've heard a producer say, someone who says they're a producer say that if a theater is going to only be able to hold 30% capacity, I'm not doing a show.
Yeah.
And there are people, there are people that are out there that are planning to do stuff even with even with everything that's happening, there are people that are saying, I'm just going to wait it out and I'm going to figure out how to create or figure out what stuff is out there. And when then it all boils over, then I'll be able to go back in. But quality, I think what Ken Davenport, who inspired this, he says quality. Wow, that's a first. That's awesome. I just have to show you this, Roy. This is technology.
Wow. Hello, Ismail. So that's so nice. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's awesome. How are you? We're great. We're doing great. We're actually in Jerusalem. So I just
say Alhamdulillah.
I just thank you for watching. We have tons of videos about theater and different people, different artists, different. Roy's a writer. That's where his he fell in the theater world into that place, and we need writers. We need writers. We need writers. Original stories. We need those to be put out there. There's a lot of material, but there's also a lot of material. We need great writers.
CB, before I forget, we have a partial answer. We're very blessed to have here in Jerusalem Theater in the Rough.
Yeah. Yes, and they're going to be rehearsing. And doing their stuff. Yeah.
And it's outdoors, and your mind is what makes the scenery happen. Your imagination. And they have wonderful actors. They have this young writer named Bill Shakespeare, and it's outdoors, so they're able to do great theater at an affordable budget, and also for safety's sake in the time of the virus, it's great. Indoor theaters are another thing. You know, when you
and you have another option. You have another option, by the way, Roy. You have another option. It's called Zoom Theater, which I'm putting up. CBD Productions putting up a reading on July 12th. And I did another production recently, and people are doing pre-recording, and they're doing Zoom, and they're figuring out how to be creative online technologically. We could probably start reading your two-man comedy right now, and it'll be enjoyable. So probably throw all your kitchen appliances in the air or something.
This is an Italian kitchen, so I got my balsamic vinegar, I got my olive oil. So I got my cooking wine. So I got here
cooking shows. Also, right. That's creative.
Macchinetta. There it is, my macchinetta.
I used to have one of those.
And this is my baby macchinetta.
Wow.
So, your Italian viewers right now are going, "Oh, coffee." So, it's going to be a challenge though for the indoor theater. The idea of a theatrical experience. If you're doing a show and you don't get much of a turnout for one performance and the audience is scattered all over the place, what do? You ask the people to all come and converge down front, sit close to each other, because by sitting close to each other, they produce more reactions. They'll laugh more. They'll cry more. They'll applaud more. If people are scattered out, which is what the virus is forcing people to do, that energy just dissipates.
Right.
And it's a nightmare for actors on stage. You get the curse of the smile. What's the curse of the smile? You're up there with the lights in your eyes. You can't see the audience, but you can hear them. So you have the light in your eyes, and with everybody scattered and the energy from the audience is not concentrated, they sit there and go.
I don't know what's going on.
And I can't hear
Yeah.
that. I don't get
Uh,
fed as an actor by that.
this is wonderful, but I don't know what's going on right now. I can't hear anything,
Exactly, exactly.
and
It's
um,
um,
yeah,
it's the same. You know, I lecture around the world, and doing a lecture on Zoom, it's difficult because if somebody, you have the matinee ladies, it's called, or matinee men, with the crunchy stuff. They'll sit there opening a bag of something, and they'll do it right in front of the computer without being muted. So you're trying to talk, and you're just like in matinees in New York
you
City.
got you gotta have somebody in the lecture with you. That's we've created some names for them, but I'm gonna just use the nice one, Zoom manager.
Oh, I like
Bring in a Zoom manager with you. If you're doing lectures, this is something that I think can create new jobs for people in today's world.
yeah,
Zoom managers, they come in, they're controlling Zoom, they mute everybody, they make sure everybody's on mute, they know how to make the Zoom work in the best way for everybody.
yeah.
Um, Terry's saying for singer songwriters performing on online streaming, there's no audience feedback because you're singing and you're just looking at yourself. When like we're talking right now, and I could tell you how many people are viewing. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
There'll be more views later on, as we hope, as this gets out more and there's more of this. But I could see how many people are viewing. But you could see the comments, and I find that in live streaming, the commenting is the new way of reacting in the way they could comment. But we have to kind of like re-educate people instead of them making that reaction like on in a face. They could put like a smiley, or they could put a heart, or they could like um, the whatever the live stream is. And I'm experimenting with that now with my Zoom readings that I'm doing. Some people like the pre-recording thing, but then who's your audience? You don't have an audience to react to it. So we have the discussions afterwards, like the post discussions, and those you'll get a reaction afterwards because the audience will talk about it and be like, "This is what I got from it." So there's a lot.
Of creativity, as you just said. I totally agree with what you said. It's forcing us to think out of the box.
Yeah,
I remember in New York City many years ago, one group could not afford to rent out a theater, so they went to an apartment building where most of the renters were people in the arts, and they got them to lend them um, rooms in their apartments with windows. They had microphones. And what happened was every actor was in a different room. Like if you look at a Zoom gallery today and
yeah,
you've got different people, like Hollywood Squares, the TV show,
yeah,
everybody trapped in their little boxes. So here, people would actually run out of one apartment and into somebody else's apartment. So you had two people fighting over here, and then two people having a romantic moment over here, et cetera, et cetera. But they were bouncing in and out of all these different windows. And the audience got headphones, and they could hear over the headphones what the actors were saying. And they were given binoculars to watch. So you have binoculars and a headphone. It got a lot of publicity, let's say.
yeah. Well, there's also a lot of interact in New York. There's like Sleep No More, where you go through an abandoned warehouse that they made into a theater basically, but it was like each room had a different. I think it was based on Macbeth. Each room had a different scene going on, so the audience would kind of walk through different scenes, and there would be interaction. So you could do that also. The thing about Zoom is you could have exits and entrances because people can turn off their videos and turn on their videos. And I experimented with that on Yom HaShoah. And I think there's a lot of creativity that can be done. I think it's going to be difficult for a lot of us to. And by the way, live theater, there's nothing like live theater. There's nothing like live theater.
Yeah.
But that's, again, as you said, it is a give and take. The audience and the actors, they need each other. that's the energy in the room, and it's not the same, but there's still a lot that we can do to create and to bring some kind of theater and to create discussion about what theater is in what we're dealing with now, however long it's going to last. And some people are starting to actually. I think Korea actually they're still doing theater, but they take the temperature and they I don't know exactly how they do it, but they've been doing it because they've been used to this kind of thing for a while, so they have a whole procedure in place. But that takes again money. The producers need to come up with another budget of how this is going to work with all that. We don't have we don't have any time left, so we're gonna end
about famous disasters in theater history, which is, it makes the best stories. If you see a Broadway show and everything comes off perfectly according to plan, that's great. But if you see where something goes wrong and they have to ad-lib or they have to counter something, that's the stories that you tell the rest of your life.
I saw that in Hamilton.
Really? What happened?
It wasn't a disaster exactly, but one of the actors, he mixed up the names Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson, the actor playing George Washington, and he started cracking up. And it was like, and then they continued with it, but he sat down in his seat and you see him talking to the actor next to him and they were just cracking up, and he got out of character for a second. I saw that in another show in First Date. It happens. I tell people, you think Broadway has its guffaws, and sometimes that's the most alive that you'll get. It's the most live theater that you'll get. On that note,
okay.
No, on that note, I love this, but we could continue talking forever. But I appreciate my audience, and I don't want to go past certain time. We have an amazing Roy, maybe you would love this too. Next week, Tuesday, there's a special community workshop that we're having a producer from Broadway, a girl who actually was in shows here. She was interviewed a few weeks ago on Jet Live. She's going to be talking about producing and whatnot. It's on Zoom. If you're interested in joining, please email us at jerusalemenglishteater@gmail.com or send us a message on Facebook. I think it's going to be awesome. It's hearing really on the inside workings of what it means to be a producer for Broadway, which we talked about it a little bit. I don't know if I never produced the show on Broadway. And you're not a producer yourself. So it'll be
benefit of everyone else in theater. I'm not a producer.
I think it'll be interesting. And tomorrow is Wednesday. Am I correct?
Yes.
Tomorrow is Wednesday. We have somebody joining us tomorrow on Jet Live, and then Thursday as well. So tune in again. It's all on the Facebook page, on the Jerusalem English Theater Facebook page, and it was great to see everybody. Thank you, all of Roy's friends, for joining us. Thank you, everybody from the Jet community, for joining us. Ismael, as we say here in Jerusalem, I don't know how to say "nice to meet you" in Arabic. But it's nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us as well.
Pakistan, the language is
Pakistan. It's different. It's Pakistani, right?
Yeah. So, but anyway, anybody watching, please write to me. And ciao to tutti, guardandomi dall'Italia.
Okay. Bye now.
Thanks again.